Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that sounds like it's straight out of a Hollywood movie. But I promise you every detail is chillingly real. It's a case that seemed open and shut, a tragedy that everyone thought they understood. But as we're about to see, one tiny, overlooked piece of evidence was about to blow the whole thing wide open and expose a truth far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. The year was 1985, in the quiet, suburban town of Orinda, California. It was a place where people felt safe, where neighbors knew each other, and serious crime was something that happened elsewhere. That all changed on a cool June evening. A woman named Susan reinvents herself as a successful entrepreneur, running a thriving computer business from her home. But her life takes a tragic turn. She is found in her garage, the victim of what appears to be a brutal and senseless robbery gone wrong. The scene was chaotic. Her belongings were strewn about, and the initial evidence pointed to a random intruder. The community was gripped by fear. Who could have done this, and why? The police launched a massive investigation, interviewed dozens of people, chased down every lead, and scoured the neighborhood for clues. Her husband, an unassuming academic, was heartbroken. He had an alibi, and everyone saw him as a grieving widower. The primary theory was that Susan had interrupted a burglar, and a struggle had ensued with fatal consequences. For months, the case frustrated detectives. There were no fingerprints, no murder weapon, and no eyewitnesses. The trail was going cold, and it seemed like Susan's killer might never be brought to justice. The official narrative was set in stone, a random act of violence that had stolen a vibrant life. But some investigators had a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. The scene was almost asterisk to asterisk messy, as if it had been staged. But with no evidence to support this hunch, the case files were placed on a shelf, destined to gather dust. Years turned into a decade. Susan's case became a local legend, a cautionary tale whispered among residents. The family tried to move on, but the shadow of the unsolved murder loomed large. The official investigation was dormant, another cold case in a long line of them. But then a new detective, a fresh pair of eyes with a reputation for cracking impossible cases, was assigned to the cold case unit. He decided to re-examine Susan's file from page 1. He read every report, every interview transcript, and looked at every crime scene photo, searching for something, anything, that his predecessors might have missed. He spent weeks immersed in the details, almost living in the past, and then he found it. Tucked away in a box of evidence that had been cataloged and stored for years was a single, unassuming item. It was a small, almost microscopic fiber. This fiber had been recovered from the crime scene, found near Susan's body, but its significance had been overlooked at the time. Back in 1985, forensic technology was not what it is today. But now, with advanced techniques, this tiny fiber could tell a story. The detective sent it off to the crime lab for a new, state-of-the-art analysis. The team was skeptical. After so many years, what could one fiber possibly reveal? They ran the tests, and the results that came back were nothing short of explosive. The fiber was a very specific type of blue-green carpet fiber. It was unusual, not the kind you'd find in a typical home or car. The detective's heart pounded. This was the first new lead in over a decade. But where did it come from? He initiated a painstaking search, trying to match the fiber to something, anything connected to the case. He looked at evidence from other robberies in the area, checked databases of materials, and even visited old manufacturing plants. The search seemed endless and fruitless. He was on the verge of giving up, thinking it was another dead end. But then he had an idea, a long shot, but one he had to take. He decided to re-examine the original alibi of Susan's husband. Remember him? The grieving academic who was supposedly miles away at the time of the murder? His alibi had been solid, confirmed by colleagues. But the detective started digging deeper into the husband's life, not just on the day of the murder, but in the weeks and months leading up to it. He discovered something interesting. The husband had a secret, a private life no one knew about. He had a passion for restoring vintage cars. The detective managed to track down a car that the husband had been working on around the time of the murder, a vehicle he had sold many years ago. With a court order, he got permission to examine the car. He and his team spent hours combing through the vehicle's interior. And then, under the driver's seat, tucked deep within the old upholstery, they found it. Carpet, and it was the exact same rare blue-green color. The lab confirmed it in a matter of hours. The fibers from the carpet in the vintage car were a perfect match to the single fiber found on Susan's body. The alibi, which had seemed so concrete, began to crumble under this new scrutiny. The husband was brought in for questioning again, this time not as a grieving widower, but as the prime suspect. Faced with the undeniable forensic link of fiber from his secret project car found on his wife's body, his story fell apart. The carefully constructed facade he had maintained for over a decade shattered, he confessed. There was no random burglar. There was no robbery gone wrong. He had staged the entire scene to cover his tracks. The motive. It was as old as time. He was having an affair and wanted to start a new life with his mistress without going through a costly and complicated divorce. He thought he had committed the perfect crime. He had planned it meticulously, creating an alibi and staging a scene that would send the police on a wild goose chase. And for over a decade it worked. He had fooled everyone. He had lived his life, built a new relationship, and believed he had gotten away with it. But he made one tiny mistake. He didn't realize that a single microscopic fiber from his beloved hobby car had clung to his clothing that night. A silent witness that would eventually travel from his car to the crime scene and finally into an evidence bag where it would wait patiently for technology to catch up to his lie. This one piece of evidence, so small it was almost invisible, rewrote the entire story. It turned a tragic accident into a cold-blooded, premeditated murder, transformed a grieving husband into a manipulative killer. The town of Orinda finally had its answer, and justice, though long delayed, was finally served. Susan's family could at last have a sense of closure, knowing the truth of what happened that terrible night. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest truths are hidden in the smallest details, and that no matter how much time passes, the truth has a way of coming to light. What do you guys think? It's incredible how forensic science has evolved and can solve cases that were once thought to be unsolvable. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you heard of any other cases that were cracked by a tiny piece of evidence like this? I'd love to hear about them. Thanks so much for watching, and if you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into incredible true stories. We'll see you in the next one.